You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV Southland After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV Southland After Show.
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to another edition for Southland, and you know Bing is for doing. We're about to recap episode 9, season 5, titled Chaos. You guys know me, I'm Nick Perdue, my lovely co-host right here.
Hello, I'm Anik Dufour.
All right, so yeah, like I'm sad.
Yeah, I'm speechless. I did not see that coming.
I didn't either. Like it was, and here's the thing, because like with the previews, you know,
right.
like you know something is gonna be like something major, possibly something tragic will happen.
Right.
But I didn't realize it was gonna be to this level, like to this caliber.
Right.
You know what I mean? So let's dive right in it. The show opens up,
yes.
right? And we see Coop and Lucero in some weird, like, abandoned place. Like,
It looked like an abandoned mall.
that's kind of what it looked like, yeah.
It's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah.
It might not be, but it's what kind of looked like with, like, you know, the parking structure. It was like a little circular and stuff like that. Kind
Yeah.
of looked
Those
escalators.
pillars,
yeah.
and it was just, yeah, so it was weird. It was dirty, you know, and there was this guy who had this pipe, and he was just banging on something, right? So Coop was like, hey, you know, put the pipe down, you know, let me, you know, check you out or whatever, because, you know, they got a call, and Lucero goes to go look at this car, and then he gets blindsided by the butt of a rifle or of a shotgun.
Right.
And then the show opens up.
Right. And then they
Crazy.
go back, like, what, like 10 hours earlier?
14
hours earlier.
14 hours earlier. Yeah. And, you know, like I was okay. Like, I was okay. Like, what is really going on?
Right.
You know, like my thoughts, I was a little lost. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe something may transpire to where, you know, but I was not expecting this.
Right. Neither was I.
So Coop and Lucero, they go to this bar.
Yes.
Which happens to be a gay bar, which is the Frolic Room, right by the Pantages Theater off of Vine in Hollywood. Don't ask me why I know exactly where it is, just because I would go to the theater. Now, but Lucero didn't know that it was a gay bar.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
it was like, it was a lot of, like, it was a sausage fest in here.
Right.
You know, Cooper was like, yeah, you know. And then he says, I'm gay.
Well, he says it's a gay bar.
Yeah,
and
there
then
you
the
go.
guys, and then Lucero's like, yeah, I kind of figured that. I mean, obviously. And then he's like, well, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And he's like, no way. You know, I think he was like shocked, but I don't know. Like, did he seem shocked to you?
I mean, like, I think he was a little shocked, but I think he was kind of like, you know, are you playing? Because he even asked, he was like, you know, I don't know if you're serious right now or if you're just, you know. But, you know, Cooper was like, yeah, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm gay, you know.
Yeah.
And then so, you know, of course, Lucero was like, well, I don't have a problem with gay people and this and that and yada, yada, yada. So, you know, I think that it did bring them closer together, or so we thought.
Right. Until the little play fight, which I'm not exactly sure what that was outside of the bar.
Yeah, that was a little weird because, like, I thought it was going to, okay, because they were, like, play fighting, and then was like, are they going to kiss? Because I thought that. Like that.
Did you really?
I did, because, like, you know, like, just kind of the way that it got, because it kind of slowed down. They're looking into each other's eyes, and I'm like, oh, my God, they're going to kiss. And then I'm like, oh, my God, is Lucero gay, too? And, like, we don't know, you know what I mean? Because that could have been, like, a nice little plot twist.
That could have been a reason why, you know, the wife left him.
That could have, yeah. So, like,
Right.
they could have had, like, similar stories, you know, and they didn't know their similar story. You know, I'm
Right.
just, you know, we didn't write the episode, but
Right.
that's what I was thinking, but that's not what happened.
No.
You know, Lucero, like, gets mad all of a sudden, you know, and granted, they're drunk, or I don't know if they're drunk, but they're, you know, tipsy or whatever.
Right.
And so, you know, he, like, flips out and calls Cooper a faggot, you
Right.
know, and it was like a weird, tense moment,
Yeah.
you know? So, I
And
don't
then they kind of just went their separate ways.
Yeah, like there was no talking about
There
it.
was not even in the car.
No.
The morning after.
That was so
Not
awkward.
even in the car.
Yeah.
It was just an awkward.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
you felt it. Like you felt
Yeah.
like their camaraderie just kind of shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it felt like they were just there just to do the job now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get back to them, but Sammy and Ben. So Sammy's riding around trying to figure out who hit his house.
Right.
Right? Because NBK sprayed up his house, so he's trying to figure, okay,
So he thinks.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what for what he
So he
Yeah.
thinks.
So he thinks that MBK sprayed up his house and broke into his house and it knocked around his nanny and so there was just like a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on, and so he's basically trying to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
Right. So like they get this call saying that. Well, be funny because I'm about to step ahead, but
Okay.
because what was the first stop that they made?
The first stop that Sammy and Ben made was
yeah.
to the detective friend of his,
There you go. That's right. Okay.
who was kind of like flirting with him, and
Yeah.
he didn't catch that.
But she was a little, I don't know. She was very dry with her flirting.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't like a hey. I mean, granted, yeah, I understand you're still on the job, but it was still very dry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you're a guy. Guys, man.
Well, yeah, no, but I
Obviously.
catch flirting, but
Okay.
when it's a little more juicy than hers.
Okay.
So yeah, so he's on the hunt trying to put pieces together on who this guy is. So he's making calls, and they're supposed to be on patrol, making their rounds or whatever, but he's literally like, going to every old stomping ground and stuff like that, trying to find out who in NBK broke into his house, stole some of his stuff and, knocked out the nanny. Right. So then they come across this prostitute, this transvestite, right, who
was flirted with him as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and that was a little awkward. You said that the guy had nice legs.
Yeah, I think I had nice legs.
I mean, I guess he is working, so he says, "Let me look presentable," right?
Right.
So because he's trying to piece this together, and so because we said that the prostitute used to buy drugs, something like that, from one of the members, or like one of like the I won't say like not founders, but one of like the head guys, whatever,
Right.
in NBK. So
Right.
he's trying to get a couple leads together, but he got a call that someone had eyes, so someone saw, not slug. I always think of slug face. So that's not his
Stroke
name.
face.
Stroke face.
Right.
There you go. So then they go and pull up on him, behind in this Cadillac, and the guy is like, dude, like I didn't do it. Like
Right.
none of my guys are that stupid to go to your house, to break in, do all this crazy stuff. He says, well, that's what you told me that you were gonna do when we last arrested you.
Right.
So it's just coincidence that that's what happened.
Right.
So you could really see how Ben was putting all of this together and trying to pinpoint it away from
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy runs in his car. So now they're in hot pursuit. He gets cornered.
Well, before we get to that, we did forget about the whole situation that happened with Elena's brother.
That's right.
Before the whole pursuit, because Elena called, and she went over. She's like, oh, my brother's like going, he's going crazy inside the house. Come and help. So they stopped by, and Ben saw her outside, and he went in, and he's like, where did you get this jacket? Because he was actually wearing Sammy's jacket.
He was wearing Sammy's jacket.
Yeah. And then that's why he's like, I told you not to take anything, and it was like this little scuffle inside and stuff like that. And then there goes Sammy, who's like, well, he was waiting outside. So after the scuffle, Ben comes out, and he's like, Cooper and Lucero were kidnapped, or they're gone missing. And, Ben's like, oh my gosh, Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Ben is basically trying to keep his mess in order.
Right.
While, because Sammy now is on this wild goose chase, trying to figure out, who ransacked his house.
Right.
And then so Ben's like, okay, like if this kid, if I literally just forgot her name.
Stroke face.
No. His girlfriend's brother. I
can't remember his name.
she told us, and it was mucho. Anyways, so but saying is if he messes up, if he doesn't tie up his loose ends,
right?
Then it's all gonna be traced back to him. So and I feel like he has this like breaking and entering kind of thing now, because he said you went over to some apartment and the people came home and they saw his face, and
right.
So you're just being sloppy with it, So it's like if you're gonna pick somebody to do something like this, pick someone who's competent.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
So but we'll see if Sammy finds out that.
Oh, he's gonna find out next week, I think.
So,
but back to the chase.
Back to the chase. So now they're cornered, and Shokeface gets out and starts running. Right. This 300-pound guy starts running, thinking that he can outrun these two cops. Right. So they're in this construction zone, and all we basically see, because it gets real dark, but all we see is kind of him like jump over this ledge, I guess,
right.
Or you can say. And then when the camera pans down, you see he's landed on
the stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he mean to do that, or was it just like an accident?
I don't think he meant to kill himself, but
right.
he literally was like, I'm trying to get away from these cops. And I don't think that he knew, one, that they were down there, and I don't think they thought that the drop was that high.
Right.
Because if you're just gonna like jump, because that was literally like a story. Like he fell, from like the second floor to the first floor.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like he didn't think it all the way through. He's trying to get away. He doesn't want to go back to jail. And so he's taking leaps and bounds and basically kills himself.
Right.
So now that lead is now gone.
Right.
So Ben's kind of like, okay, well, we still gotta go find Cooper and Lucero, because they've been missing now since 10/20, I believe they said.
Yes.
So and they pulled in everybody, like from a lot of detectives from different regions and from different precincts, I guess. So that's why Lydia and Robinson got the call.
Right.
And so they were in this big meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these guys literally just disappeared off the grid.
Right.
Right. And that's kind of weird. Like, as a cop, like you would think, okay, like what's, like there has to be something to lead us to, what I mean?
Right.
Like people can't just disappear, especially cops. Cops can't just disappear.
Right.
Right. So these guys that basically kidnapped Cooper and Lucero
and handcuffed them together and put them in the back of the truck.
But remember what I said when we were watching? If Cooper would have cuffed the guy who he was supposed to be searching first before just leaving him uncuffed and walking over to help Lucero, they wouldn't be in that predicament.
Right. But then at the same time, he said that I let my guard down. If you listen to them, like when they're in the truck, in the back, he's like, I let my guard down and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. So there was.
So they knew that they were wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, you still, like, I would have shot somebody. Let me put, like, I would have,
Right.
Because if someone has a gun to your partner's head, I'm shooting first.
Right.
And then ask questions later.
Right.
But the guy who he should have cuffed hits him across the back with the crowbar, takes his gun. And so now Lucero's down. He has a gun to his head, so they have to give up their weapons and their belts and literally like their clothes, their uniforms, everything.
Right, because they're in their underwear and t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're put in the back of this truck and hauled off. So we have no idea where they're going.
Right, and they didn't know where they were going either.
Which is kind of weird, because you're kind of like, okay, what are they gonna do? Like, are they gonna take them out to the desert, dig a ditch, and kill them,
right.
like what's, because you can only imagine like what's going through their heads,
right,
as they're in the back of this pickup truck in their underwear, handcuffed together.
Right, like what's gonna happen with me?
That's
and
crazy.
Then that's when Lucero was like, well, I don't think they want to hurt us, they just want money.
Yeah,
they want to hold us for ransom.
Yeah,
type of thing.
Because they're essentially they're drug addicts.
Right.
They're meth heads. And we see them have drug use during the kidnapping. But, I don't think that they even thunk it all the way through, too.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. Like, and they were basically just kind of like doing stuff as they go along.
Right.
So it was a little sloppy, too, on their part. And then, now you have the department out there looking for them.
Right.
And, I think I just want to talk about Dewey really quick. Dewey really showed that, that he really cares about Sammy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like
you mean Cooper?
Yeah, really cares about about Cooper, because like you never really see him get really emotional.
Right, and he did this episode.
Yeah,
it was a great episode.
It was. He had a little range. He wasn't in the episode a whole lot.
Right.
But his scenes, like they're very, dramatic, and I was right there with him. I was okay.
Yeah, it was good.
It was. Now I didn't expect what happened.
I did not see that coming at all. At all. I did not see that coming.
So they're in the house, and then
and then they take Lucero. They beat Lucero up mainly, I think, because he's the one that's talking the most.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like, if you let us go, you haven't done anything, wrong. We can let you go. You haven't done anything to go over, the boundary yet. Which I mean, they have, but it's like, and they take Lucero and they bring him to the bathroom and then they beat him up.
Mm.
And then you see him come out and he's all bloody and and then poor Cooper's just there like, this is my partner.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they're like friends. And even though the whole situation happens that like the night before and that morning, I think that it still hurts because it is his partner.
Yeah.
It is his friend.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's. I have to say, because I was reading tweets and everything last night, and then again I was reading tweets today, and people were saying that this episode is definitely like an Emmy award winning episode.
I think so too.
Like Lucero, Anthony, and I'm gonna mess up his last name, so I'm not gonna say last name Anthony, but you did a great job.
Yeah, I did.
And like you really felt the hurt and the screams, like when they had the torch to his leg, like they really tortured him on like some prisoner of war type of torturing.
Right.
And because they thought that they had trackers, and they were literally they were like cracked out essentially.
Yeah.
So they're hallucinating and they're freaking out, and so they're just extra paranoid, and they're just doing this god awful stuff to these two men who were doing their job, and had no idea what they were walking into.
Right.
And then there's a great moment between Cooper and Lucero after Lucero comes back from being beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper's like, we're gonna get through this.
Right.
Don't give up. What I mean, like you still have your wife. And
right.
then Lucero tells him, he's like, no, my wife left me.
Yeah.
And I think at that point is when Lucero was like, we're really gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Cooper was scared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not scared that, of what, but the scared that they might kill him.
Yeah.
Or they might beat him up like they did with Lucero.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and especially like in that type of situation, like you have no idea what these guys are thinking.
Right.
Because you have one who's obviously like extra crazy. And then there's one who's like, okay, he's not that crazy. Maybe he's a little sensible.
Right.
Right.
And that's when they try and get, him to like be a little more sensible, but that kind of backfires.
Yeah. Because he's just as crazy, if not crazier, than the other guy.
Right.
So it's really like they were literally in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Which is, it's, I don't, it was, like I said, it was just that moment though, like that moment that they had I was like, wow, this is powerful.
Right. And so now you know why we all said it was Emmy worthy.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely Emmy worthy. Like I would, throw my nomination in there, put it for this episode, Chaos. So we get to the nitty gritty now, and
while all this is happening though, Lydia and Robinson do find what they thought was a lead from a homeless guy, because they're interviewing people that are like walking and stuff like that may potentially have seen it, because they did catch the tape from outside from the trash and stuff. And so they see the homeless guy who's wearing the shoes, I don't know if it was Cooper's Lucero's shoes and pants. And so they go and they stop him like, where did you get those pants, those boots? And then he's like, he didn't want to say it first, but he finally did, and he showed them like where it was at. And that's when they got the video from outside, and then they saw the truck, and then he took down the license plate. Now, the license plate was to a woman in a house that apparently it was not the house, so I don't know if she had anything to do with the guys or if they stole her truck or, you know, what happened. But that turned out to be a dead lead. Yeah. Which was kind of sad.
It was. And you know, like, actually, the way it was shot, it almost kind of looked like it was the house.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you're like, okay, like they're gonna come in, and, you know, and then it turns out that it's not the house. And so this lady's freaking out, you know, because you have the SWAT guys in there,
right?
You know, because for all they know, that this lady could be like the mastermind. You know what I mean? She's like, oh my God, what's going on? So, yeah, that turned out to be a dead lady. That was terrible.
And then they go back to Cooper and Lucero, who are just like, Cooper tries to get the phone.
Yeah.
And while the other guy goes out to the bank because he got their PIN number and the wallets and stuff like that was in the car. So he got their, and he only got like $600, I think he said, right?
That's like you can really get from the ATM because he probably like withdrawals
right,
like the maximum. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, well maybe they'll get out, but then you see like what happened and how like Lucero tried to like talk them out of it and like things, and then they just shoot him.
Yeah.
I was just like, no. I was literally sitting on my couch last night watching this, and I was just like, no. I'm like, come on. But it's Southland. Look what happened to Nate.
Yeah, well, yeah, see, and that's the, you know, and you know, when you're guest starring, you know, that's the thing that I learned with Southland is that when you're guest starring.
See, the thing though is that Nate wasn't guest starring. Nate was a series regular. Now, when Anthony signed the contract, did he see as a guest star? Or was he like as like a guest star potential series regular? That's like kind of like,
I don't know. Anthony, tweet us and let us know.
We're trying to get Anthony in, but he's actually in North Carolina, South Carolina, filming Banshee
on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get him to call in for you guys next week and kind of, you know, give us a little clarity on this episode and then on the next episode, even though he's not in it, but you know, help us kind of, you know, really kind of piece this whole thing together,
right?
You know, because that like when he got shot, it was really like, you know, the guy didn't care,
right?
You know, and then he was like, well, you know, shooting a cop is just like kidnapping, so it's basically the same thing,
right?
You know what I mean? So he's like, it's almost just as bad, when really it's not just as bad. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm sure kidnapping a cop is terrible, but when you kill a cop, now that's like death penalty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you kidnap a cop, okay, maybe you get life in jail, but kill him, that's definitely death penalty.
Right.
You know, so they may even kill you before you even get to death. Like, it's crazy. So, you know, they're like, okay, well, we got to get rid of these bodies now.
Right.
Right? And
or of the body.
Yeah.
Potential bodies.
So they take Cooper outside to go dig a ditch.
Right.
Which is, like, I think even that, like, digging a ditch with a gun to your head is probably one of like the single most frightening and most like traumatizing things you can ever do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you like this is it.
Right.
You know,
it's like you're done.
Yeah. So he digs the ditch and then he has to go back in and he has to drag Lucero's body and put it into the ditch.
Right.
And they tell him to get into the ditch.
Right.
And he says, I'm not getting in there.
Right.
So they hit him across the back. He falls into the ditch.
Right.
Right. Now, the one guy who's like the super cracked out guy.
Right.
Just takes off running.
Right.
Right. So he takes off running, gets into the truck, and drives away.
Right.
And then the other guy who shaved his head because they cut their hair because they're freaking out. They're like, well, like they see in our face and they know what we look like, so we got to change our appearance. So they cut their hair, and so he takes a shot, and then hops in the truck and then chases him.
Right.
So we don't know if Cooper died. Cooper got hit.
I think he played dead, so they didn't see, you know, because they shot, but he completely missed.
Yeah.
And because at first we're like, oh my gosh, did he get shot? Because I was like that last night. I was like, okay, no, come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, they can't do this to Cooper. And so I was watching. I was like, okay, like, and then you see him moving, and you like know that he like, you know, he hasn't been shot, but he was just kind of like playing dead and just not, you know, hoping that they don't come back or whatever. And so they take off, and then of course Cooper goes and finds a gas station. Like he's like crawling almost on the floor, and he was like finding a gas station, and I'm hoping that the woman did call the cops.
Hopefully she did something.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, I almost feel like that was kind of like putting salt in the wounds where you have this little old lady
Right.
in a motorized wheelchair who clearly shouldn't be working at a gas station.
Right.
You know, at whatever
She
time
wasn't
of
actually
night.
that old though.
Or okay. But she
But
she
still,
had
I mean, why is she working
physical
the night
disabilities.
shift?
Yeah, she's working the night shift. You know, she had physical
Yeah.
disability. Like she needs to be at home somewhere. Like her husband or her son or nephew, somebody should be working. You know, while she's at the house. You
Right.
know? So, and she's probably freaking out. She's like, oh my God, like this guy's crazy. He's
Right.
handcuffed. Like what's going on?
Right.
You know. So hopefully, she called the cops.
Right, because I mean, the last thing that we see Cooper just laying there, like basically crying.
Yeah.
You know, is that, and then it just cuts, and then we have to wait till next week, which really annoys me. And I'm just like, no, I think it should be 2 hours long.
Yeah, they should make it as like a Southland movie or something, right? So, you know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know, so I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, it was one of those episodes to where you really kind of look at it and you're like, wow, like this thing, you know, was well constructed.
Yeah.
You know, and there was only really just like one storyline.
Yeah, basically.
You know, because like they're having to wrap things up.
Yeah.
You know, with the last episode next week. So you know, like so we'll see what happens with the Ben.
But
Sam.
Ben, oh, I know. I'm hoping that he's okay though. I love Ben.
But you see, now I'm thinking, does Cooper retire?
Oh.
Because
could we leave that for predictions?
We can't.
Maybe?
I'm just gonna tell you just what I was thinking, because I'm thinking after going through all that, I'm gonna retire.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like after like going through that,
Right.
I'm literally giving I'm retiring.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
that's like, how do you go back on the job after experiencing that?
Yeah.
You know, even sure you get your sabbatical, you get some time off or whatever, but still, like, how do you go back to a job where you literally, you know, have a second lease on life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, that's a lot. That has like a lot of cops, you know, that happens to, where like their partner gets shot in front of them and, you know, like gets killed or whatever. I mean, I know not to like put it personally, but my best friend whose his husband is actually a police officer. And she was a police officer, and then they had like this whole altercation, and going back to like retiring, they had this huge shootout. This was in South Florida. They had this huge shootout type of thing, and she ended up retiring afterwards. So it's kind of like, you know, does he retire, or does he act all Cooperish and be like, you know, I'm tough, I'm bad, I'm gonna go back to the police force and kick some ass?
I think it's time to retire.
You think he's gonna?
That's just me. I mean, like, because that's like war. Like you were like in Vietnam or something like that. Like what they experienced wasn't anything that you experienced on the streets of LA.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that was like some backwoods deliverance type of stuff that they went through. So, you know, me, I'm done. I'm retired.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm not.
What
going
would
back.
you do?
I would just retire. I wouldn't even go into the station. I would just call and be like, hey guys, I'm not even coming in. Like just fix the paperwork, fax it over to me, email it to me. I'll sign it, email it back to you. We'll have a get together, you know. But I'm done. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. But we're not done yet. So what you need to do is go on iTunes and make sure that you rate, comment, and subscribe. Give us 4, 5, 6 stars. You can't give us 6, but if you could, please give us 6. Leave comments. We actually read some of your comments. We're not gonna shout you guys out because they were great. But tell your friends about us, you know, the AfterBuzz podcast, about the Southland podcast. You can go back, you know, listen to any of the other after shows that we did for this entire season. So yeah, do it, and thank you.
It's a really heavy show, and I think the reason why we kind of try and put it not as heavy and a little bit of lighter is just to, like, you know, not be so like dramatic and, like, you know, put out like negativity out there. So we try to make it a little bit lighter, and
I mean, we do, and you know, but you know, I understand what some people were saying, you know, but at the end of the day, if something's funny, I'm gonna laugh.
Right.
So, but not saying that the show's funny, But,
Right.
you know, if someone makes a comment and it's funny,
Right.
I'm gonna laugh.
Right.
That's just me.
Now, I thought the whole, like, before we, like, wrap things up, I thought the whole situation with Ben and, going back to Ben, with Ben and Brooke, kind of just, like, she's kind of, like, stalking him now.
Yeah, no, she's, what did you call it? You said fatal attraction?
She's going to fatal attraction him.
I mean,
You ever seen Fatal Attraction?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She's going to fatal attraction him. It's scary.
I mean, like,
I'll leave that for predictions.
she's acting very swim fanish, very Erica Christensen.
Yeah.
You know, you remember that movie?
That was a good movie. Jesse Bradford's cute.
Sure.
Yeah.
But she's acting very swim fanish, and I think it was funny because she said, you know, are you sleeping with someone else? Are you sleeping with someone else? And then he was like, yeah, I am. And then like, oh my God, he's admitting it, and he was like, okay. That was a little mean. I probably shouldn't have said that. That was a little mean. She's like, I'm gonna get back at you.
And sleep with everybody in the precinct, which is weird. Like, how's that gonna get back with him? And then she's like, you're gonna like,
he doesn't love you, like,
right?
So,
and then he's like, I just thought that was kind of like the lighter moment of the show.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you needed a little levity, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, she brought that. So
yeah.
All right. So you wanna do news and gossip?
Sure.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Well, the only thing I have actually is a news and gossip. The last episode, this episode and the episode before actually got over 2 million viewers.
Really?
Which is good, and we're hoping that the next
TNT.
one, TNT, come on, because it's like a big battle between them and Dallas. And it's like, come on, Dallas has freaking been on for like years and years and years and years, and now it's back, and it's just like
Patrick Duffy.
he should have just stayed with Step by Step. I don't know, you know. It's like Southland is such a great show that it's like next week. If like next week is like the final episode, I'm crying. That's all I have to say. That is my prediction for myself next week. Is I'm gonna cry.
She will cry on camera for you.
I will cry on camera for you.
And you can watch it over and over and over again.
And then maybe I'll get an Emmy nomination.
There you go.
Right?
There you
The SAG award. I'll take it.
So yeah. So
My
you know,
Oscar moment.
hopefully TNT brings Southland back for like one more season.
Right.
You know, and then we can wrap it up. If you want to kill everybody off, then, but at least give us you know, season 6.
Season 6.
All right. Ready for
predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right. So, episode 9, season 5, Southland. Anik, your predictions.
This would be episode 10 next week.
Wait, episode
9. Today's the 9.
Right.
I think that there's going to be a whole out war. Brooke is going to find out about who Elena is, and there's going to be a whole out war between that. And then let me see what else. I think that while seeing previews, we do find out that Sammy finds out about Ben, about what he does, and I think Ben's going to be the one that's going to be in trouble next week. And I'm still holding out until I'm vindicated that Sammy's not the father of the baby.
We need season 6 for that.
Yes. Maybe we'll find out next.
We might.
I'd like to see everything get wrapped up. If you're gonna do this to us, TNT, I want to see.
No loose ends.
I want to see everything wrapped up.
No cold cases. No cold files. You know.
Right.
My predictions. I mean, really, it's simple. I think that Cooper's gonna retire.
Okay.
So that's definitely gonna happen.
And if he retires, then there's no season 6.
Not necessarily, because he can like come back and like
That's
a consultant. You know, like we could just follow his life.
He'd be like mall security, mall cop.
Paul Blart or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? and then so Ben gets caught up, and he's gonna try and like, you know, start backing his way out of it. But then, you know, like he gets cornered, and so he's like, listen, like, you know, so he's gonna give him his explanation.
Right.
And then someone's gonna get shot. They may not die.
Right.
But someone's gonna get shot, and it could be Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. We'll have to tune in next week. So make sure you guys watch Southland TNT Wednesday nights, and then every Thursday night, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. Tune in to us. And Anik, where can they find you?
Hey, Okay, you can find me on Twitter at JustAnik and on the internet at AnikDufour.com.
There you go. You can find me all over the internets at the Nick Perdue. Thank you, guys.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.